The sky was burning. Cities that once shined with lights were now nothing but ruins. The air smelled of smoke, fire, and death. Across the planet, silence had replaced the voices of billions. Humanity was cornered. The enemy had come from the stars, an empire so strong that other worlds had already fallen without resistance. But Earth was different. The invaders expected humans to surrender, like all the others before them. They thought fear would break humanity. They thought pain would silence them. They were wrong. Even when cities collapsed, even when families were torn apart, humanity did not quit. Deep inside every survivor, something ancient still burned. The instinct to fight, to survive, no matter the cost. On the broken streets of New York, a group of survivors huddled together inside the ruins of a subway station. The roof dripped with water, walls cracked, and the ground shook whenever alien war machines passed above. Among them was Captain Daniel Reed, once a soldier, now just another man trying to keep his people alive. His uniform was torn, his face covered in dust, but his eyes carried fire. Around him were children, mothers, old men, people who had lost everything. They looked to him, not because he was the strongest, but because he refused to give up. "Are we safe here?" a child whispered. Daniel looked at the frightened eyes staring at him. He wanted to lie. He wanted to say yes, but he didn't. "No," he said softly, "we are not safe, but we are alive, and as long as we are alive, we fight." The words carried across the dark tunnel. For the first time, some of the hopeless faces lifted. The human spirit was fragile, but it was also unbreakable. Above the city, the alien commander, Lord Xylan, watched the destruction with cold eyes. His fleet had burned half the Earth already. To him, humanity was weak flesh standing against machines that could shatter mountains. He had crushed empires before, and he believed Earth would be no different. But something unsettled him. His soldiers reported strange resistance. Even after losing everything, humans kept attacking with whatever they had. Stones, knives, even their bare hands. These creatures, Xylan hissed, they should have broken by now. Why do they still fight? No answer came. Not even his generals could explain it. Far from the city, deep in the mountains, a hidden base flickered with weak lights. Old radios, scavenged parts, and scraps of machines filled the underground shelter. Here, scientists and engineers worked day and night, trying to build something, anything, that could strike back. Among them was Dr. Elena Vasquez. Her hands were trembling from exhaustion, but her eyes refused to close. She stared at an old satellite console, wires sticking out, sparks flying. It was useless, broken decades ago. But tonight, something changed. A signal, a faint sound, almost lost in static, echoed through the speakers. Not from Earth, not from the invaders. Something hidden, something deep beneath the planet itself. Her heart raced. She called her team, her voice shaking. Something is alive down there. The room fell silent. Could Earth itself be holding a secret? Back in the ruins of New York, Captain Daniel led his group through the darkness. They were heading for the river, hoping to escape before the machines found them. Every step was heavy with fear. Every shadow could hide death. And then it happened. A metallic roar shook the ground. A massive alien walker, 10 stories tall, appeared from the smoke. Its eyes glowed red, scanning for life. One beam of its cannon could erase the entire subway. The survivors froze. Children cried. Some prayed. But Daniel stepped forward. His hands were empty, his body broken, but he did not bow. "Run," he told the others. "Run and don't look back." He picked up a piece of broken metal, nothing but scrap, and faced a towering monster. He knew he could not win. He knew death was only seconds away. But he also knew something greater. Humans don't quit. Not now. Not ever. From the alien warship above, Lord Xylan watched the scene on his screen. One man, standing against a machine that could crush him like dust. It was madness. It was hopeless. It was terrifying. Because Xylan realized something the galaxy had forgotten. Humans were not fighting to win. They were fighting because survival was written in their blood. And that meant Earth would not fall easily. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. The night was silent, but it was not peace. It was fear. Smoke still rose from burning cities, and the sky carried the glow of alien ships drifting above like vultures waiting for death. Earth was broken, but not dead. In the ruins of New York, Captain Daniel Reed still lived. Against all odds, he had survived the giant alien walker. His body was bruised, his arm bleeding, but he walked. Around him, survivors followed. Children clung to their mothers. Old men limped. No one spoke, but all of them looked to him. They had lost homes. They had lost family. But somehow they had not lost him, and that was enough to keep them moving. Far away in the mountains, Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in front of the broken satellite console, listening to the strange signal she had found. The sound was faint, like whispers buried deep under Earth's crust. At first, she thought it was nothing but static. But when she listened closer, she felt it, patterns, rhythms, almost like words. Her team gathered, their faces pale and tired. One man whispered, "Is it alien?" Elena shook her head slowly. "No, not alien. It's older, much older." The signal repeated, again and again, as if waiting for someone to answer. Her hands trembled as she turned the knobs. What if Earth is hiding something beneath us? Something we never knew? The room went silent. The idea was madness, but so was everything since the invasion began. In orbit, aboard his warship, Lord Xylan grew restless. His armies had burned half the planet, but humans still resisted. Every report he received carried the same strange detail. The humans refused to stop. "Your soldiers are mistaken," one of his generals said. "No species can continue under such losses. They will break soon." But Xylan did not believe that anymore. He had seen with his own eyes a lone man standing against a war machine with nothing but scrap metal. No, these humans were not like others. They fought as if survival was a law written into their blood. "Commander," another officer reported, "scouts have picked up unusual signals from the mountains. They do not match human technology." Xylan narrowed his eyes. "Investigate. If the humans hide something, I want it destroyed." Back on the ground, Daniel and his group reached the edge of the ruined city. The Hudson River stretched before them, black and silent under the moonlight. "Are we safe here?" a boy asked. Daniel looked across the water. Alien patrol ships floated in the distance, their searchlights cutting the night. "Safe?" he said quietly. "No, but we're alive, and while we live, we keep moving." The survivors nodded, their faces showing fear but also something else. Trust. They built rafts from broken wood, doors, and anything they could find. It was weak, but it floated. Mothers pushed their children onto the water. Old men rowed with pieces of metal. And slowly, they crossed the river under the cover of smoke. One woman whispered to Daniel, "Why do you keep helping us? You could run. You could save yourself." Daniel shook his head. "If I quit, they win, and I don't know how to quit." Meanwhile, in the mountains, Elena and her team argued. Some said they should shut down the console. It was too dangerous. Others wanted to send a reply. Elena listened again. The signal felt almost alive, like a heartbeat. She leaned forward and whispered into the old microphone, "If you can hear me, humanity needs you." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the console sparked. The signal grew louder, stronger, filling the room with deep vibrations. The ground trembled. The team gasped as dust fell from the ceiling. "What did you do?" one of them cried. "I woke something up," Elena whispered. The tremor spread across the mountains. Birds flew into the night, animals howled. Far underground, something shifted, something vast, something ancient. And high above, alien scanners caught the movement. Lord Xylan's officers rushed to him. "Commander, something is rising from beneath the planet. We don't understand what it is." Xylan stared at the readings, his cold face turning pale. For the first time, he felt fear. "Impossible," he muttered. This world was weak. It was broken. What are they hiding? Back by the river, Daniel and the survivors reached the far shore. They collapsed on the sand, exhausted, but alive. For a moment, they allowed themselves to breathe. But then the ground shook. Not from alien machines this time. From something deeper. The children clung to their mothers. The old men looked around in confusion. Daniel stood, staring at the mountains in the distance. He saw faint flashes of light rising into the clouds, followed by a deep rumble that made the earth itself tremble. "What now?" someone whispered. Daniel's eyes narrowed. He didn't know what was happening. But he knew one thing. This was not the end. Humanity's story was just beginning. And whatever was rising from beneath Earth, it could change everything. The mountains shook like a living heartbeat. Deep inside the Earth, something vast moved, something older than memory itself. The survivors could feel it even from miles away. The ground trembled under their feet. Captain Daniel Reed stood at the river's edge, his eyes locked on the distant glow. The children behind him cried. Mothers held their sons and daughters close. Everyone whispered the same question, "What is happening?" Daniel didn't answer. He didn't know. But he felt it, something powerful, something not alien but not human either. Something hidden, waiting for this very moment. Far underground, Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the consoles explode with light. The weak radio system that had once crackled with static now roared with signals so strong the entire base shook. Her team panicked. One man shouted, "We should shut it down before it kills us." But Elena's eyes burned with determination. She had spent weeks watching humanity lose, watching families starve, watching hope disappear. She could not turn away now. "No," she said firmly. "This is not killing us. This is answering us." The signal shifted again, now clearer. The pattern was no longer noise. It was structured, organized, like a language. The earth itself was speaking. High above, aboard his warship, Lord Xyland's claws tightened against the command chair. His officers fed him reports, their voices filled with unease. "Commander, seismic activity across the mountain range is increasing. Energy levels are unnatural." Xyland narrowed his eyes. "Unnatural how?" The officer hesitated. "Not geological. It looks engineered." Xyland hissed. "So the humans had a weapon hidden all along. They planned this." But even as he said it, he did not believe. His empire had crushed civilizations older and stronger than Earth. No one had ever fought back like this. These humans had been on the edge of extinction, yet somehow they were pulling strength from nothing. It was not strategy. It was something deeper, and that unsettled him. On the ground, Daniel led the survivors further into the forest. The sound of the mountains echoed behind them like distant thunder. "Captain," an old man said, his voice trembling, "shouldn't we run away from it?" Daniel shook his head. "Running won't save us. If this is Earth's last card, then we need to see it." The group hesitated, but they followed. Step by step, they pushed deeper into the night, guided only by the strange rumble that seemed to call them. Back at the hidden base, Elena and her team worked desperately to decode the signal. Symbols filled the screens. Lines of energy mapped across the earth like veins of light. One young technician gasped. "It's not coming from outside the planet. It's coming from inside. Something buried, something huge." Elena's heart pounded. "Then we have to find it before the aliens do." She knew the invaders would detect this soon. Time was running out, and she was right. Lord Xyland rose from his chair, his voice like steel. "Prepare to strike. Burn the mountains to ash. Whatever the humans are hiding, destroy it." The order sent waves of fear across his crew, not because they doubted him, but because something in their instincts told them this was wrong. Still, they obeyed. Dozens of alien warships turned toward Earth's mountains, weapons charging. The night sky lit with deadly fire. Daniel and his group reached a ridge overlooking the mountain range just in time to see the sky ignite. Alien ships descended like falling stars, their cannons glowing with energy. Children screamed. Mothers cried out. Daniel clenched his fists. "They are going to erase it," he muttered. But then, something happened. The first blast hit the mountains, and the earth roared back. A shockwave erupted, blasting the alien fire into the sky. The mountains cracked open, spilling light so bright it blinded everyone. From the heart of the earth, massive structures began to rise, machines of stone and metal older than any human civilization. The survivors fell to their knees. Elena's team watched in awe. Even Lord Xyland staggered back in disbelief. What "What is this?" he whispered. The ancient machines unfolded like giants waking from slumber. Their surfaces glowed with lines of molten light. Their movements were slow, but unstoppable, as if the planet itself had forged them for this very day. Elena whispered, tears in her eyes. "It's not alien. It's Earth. This has been waiting for us." Daniel stood tall, the glow reflecting in his eyes. Maybe Earth knew this day would come. On his ship, Lord Xylan growled in fury. His claws scraped the metal of his throne. "No," he spat. "This is impossible. This world was weak. These humans are weak." But his words sounded hollow, even to himself, because deep inside, he understood the truth. The humans were not weak. They were dangerous because they refused to stop, and now Earth itself was answering their call. The mountains glowed like a burning sunrise. The ancient machines had risen from the earth, their massive forms stretching into the night sky. They were not alien, not human, but something older, something that had been waiting. Survivors across the world saw the light. In broken cities, in ruined villages, even in silent shelters, eyes turned to the horizon. For the first time since the invasion began, people whispered not in fear, but in hope. Maybe we are not finished. Captain Daniel Reed stood on the ridge with his survivors, the glow of the mountains burning in his eyes. Around him, children gasped, mothers cried with wonder, and old men whispered prayers. Daniel's heart pounded. He did not understand what he was seeing, but he felt it. Something had awakened inside Earth itself, and it was answering humanity's instinct to survive. "We keep moving," he told his group, voice steady. "Whatever this is, it's not the end. It's the beginning." Far underground, Dr. Elena Vasquez and her team worked furiously. The consoles were alive with signals, each one stronger than the last. The strange language pulsed across the screens, almost like music. Elena, one of her engineers, shouted, "These machines, they are connecting to us. They're listening." Her hands trembled as she pressed the microphone again. "If you hear us, if you are part of this world, help us survive." For a long moment, only silence filled the room. Then the lights of the ancient machines flared brighter, as if responding to her voice. Elena's heart raced. "They can hear us," she whispered, "and they are choosing to fight with us." Above Earth, Lord Xylan's warships fired again. Beams of alien energy rained down, scorching the mountains. But the ancient machines did not fall. Their stone and metal bodies absorbed the fire, and their glowing lines grew brighter. "They are feeding on our weapons," an alien officer cried. Xylan's claws dug into his throne. "Impossible. Nothing can resist our firepower." Yet, before his eyes, the impossible was happening. The mountains did not break. The machines grew stronger, and humanity was rising again. Daniel and his survivors hurried toward the mountains. Each tremor shook the ground beneath their feet, but instead of fear, it gave them strength. One boy asked, "Captain, are those machines ours?" Daniel looked at the glowing giants. He didn't know the answer, but he smiled. "They are now." In the hidden base, Elena's team discovered something more. The machines were not weapons by themselves. They needed humans. They needed voices, wills, hearts strong enough to guide them. They were waiting for us, Elena realized. Not just for this moment, but for humanity's instinct to survive. We are the key. Her team stared at her in shock. "You mean we can control them?" She nodded. "Not control. Connect. They are part of Earth, and so are we. If we join with them, we can fight." The news spread like fire. Across radios, across hidden channels, across whispers carried in the dark, humanity learned the truth. Earth had given them weapons, but only those who refused to quit could use them. Ordinary men and women came forward. Farmers, students, engineers, soldiers, anyone with a will to keep going. They gathered, answering the call. And one by one, they connected with the machines. Lord Xylan watched in fury as reports flooded in. Across the planet, giant machines of stone and light were awakening, each one guided by human hearts. "This cannot be," he roared. They were broken. They were finished. But the galaxy was beginning to understand the truth. Humans did not need victory to keep fighting. They needed only one thing, hope, and now they had it. On the ridge, Daniel reached the base of a glowing giant. Its chest pulsed with light, like a beating heart. He stepped forward, hand trembling, and touched its surface. The machine answered. Light surged across its body, and a deep voice echoed inside Daniel's mind. Not in words, but in feeling. It felt his pain, his anger, his refusal to quit, and it welcomed him. Behind him, survivors gasped as the giant's eyes blazed to life. The machine rose taller, its steps shaking the earth, but its movements were not cold. It was alive, carrying Daniel's spirit within. Elena's voice came over the radio, urgent and full of fire. To every survivor who can hear me, humanity is not done. These machines are with us. Stand up. Fight. Show them we will never quit. Her words spread across the broken world, reaching ear that had almost given up. And slowly, across the ruins, people stood. From his throne, Lord Xylan felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Not of the machines, not of the humans, but of their instinct, their refusal to die, their fire that would not die. They should have broken, he whispered. Why don't they break? Because humans don't know how. The earth no longer trembled from alien fire. It trembled from something greater. Across the mountains, ancient machines rose, their glowing bodies alive with human spirit. They were not silent weapons. They were echoes of Earth's will, and now humanity's fury burned inside them. Survivors who once hid in shadows now stood taller. In broken towns, people lifted their heads. In ruined shelters, children no longer cried. They watched the giants move with wonder. For the first time since the invasion began, fear was no longer the master. It was changing. Fear was becoming fury. Captain Daniel Reed stood inside the chest of the awakened giant, his hand pressed against its glowing core. He could feel it, every movement, every surge of power, every beat of energy. The machine was alive, but it was not guiding him. He was guiding it. Captain, a voice crackled over the radio. It was Dr. Elena Vasquez. The machines respond to us. The stronger our will, the stronger they fight. You must lead. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then let's show them what humanity can do. The giant moved, each step shaking the earth like thunder. Behind Daniel, the survivors followed, no longer crawling in fear, but marching with strength. High above, Lord Xylan's ship shook with rage. His generals bowed in silence, afraid to speak. They were supposed to be broken. Xylan hissed, his voice trembling with fury. Now they rise with weapons we did not know existed. One general dared to speak. Commander, permission to retreat, regroup. Xylan struck him down with a single blow. Retreat? From humans? No. I will burn their world to ash and crush these abominations. He turned to his fleet. Send everything. Every ship. Every soldier. If they want war, then let them drown in it. The sky lit with fire. Hundreds of alien warships descended, their weapons glowing like falling suns. They came not to conquer, but to annihilate. On the ground, survivors looked up in horror. A woman whispered, "There are too many. We can't fight them all." Daniel's voice boomed through the giant speakers. "Listen to me. We don't fight because we think we can win. We fight because humanity never quits. That's who we are. That's what they feel." The survivors raised their fists, their voices echoing in the night. For the first time, they were not victims. They were warriors. In the hidden base, Elena and her team worked without rest. The signals grew stronger, more machines awakening across the planet. From deserts, from oceans, from deep forests, giants of light and stone rose, each one finding a human to guide it. Farmers, soldiers, teachers, children, ordinary people connected, their survival instinct burning like fire. One technician gasped, "It's not just the mountains. The whole planet, it's alive." Elena whispered, tears in her eyes, "Earth is fighting with us." The first clash came at dawn. Alien ships rained fire onto the mountains. Explosions shook the ground. Fire roared across the sky. But the machines stood tall, their glowing arms raised. Energy shields pulsed, deflecting the blast back into the heavens. Daniel roared, guiding his giant forward. It leapt into the air, striking a warship with a fist of stone and light. The ship shattered, falling into the forest below. Survivors cheered, their fear burning into fury. Across the world, battles erupted. In the deserts, giants rose from the sand. In the oceans, titans emerged from the waves. Everywhere, humans fought back, not with despair, but with rage fueled by survival. In orbit, Xylan watched in disbelief as his fleet suffered losses he had never imagined. Each time a ship fell, his anger grew, but so did his fear. "These are just humans," he whispered. "Fragile, weak creatures. Why do they fight like gods?" The answer came from within him, though he did not want to admit it, because humans did not fight for conquest or glory. They fought because they had no other choice. And when survival was at stake, they became unstoppable. Daniel's machine stood on the battlefield, glowing brighter with every strike. The enemy surrounded him, ships raining fire from all directions. But he did not fall. He would not fall. Inside, his body was bleeding, his strength fading. But his spirit refused to quit. The machine felt it too, its core burning hotter. One child's voice echoed over the radio. "Captain, don't stop. If you don't stop, we won't stop either." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "Then we fight together." He charged, fury blazing, leading humanity's counterattack. Lord Xylan's voice shook with rage. "Crush them. Erase them. Do not let them rise." But his fleet was already bleeding. For the first time, the Empire's soldiers hesitated. For the first time, they feared their enemy, because the humans had turned their fear into fury. And fury was far deadlier than fear. The sky was on fire. Alien warships blotted out the sun, their weapons pouring down endless light and destruction. Earth shook under the weight of their fury. Forests burned, oceans boiled, mountains cracked. But humanity did not break. For every city lost, another survivor rose. For every attack, another titan awakened from the earth. The world itself seemed to breathe with its people, each heartbeat echoing in the glowing machines of stone and light. This was no longer survival. This was reckoning. Captain Daniel Reed stood inside his Titan, his body trembling with pain but his spirit blazing like fire. Around him, dozens of other giants marched, guided by men and women who had once been farmers, students, and workers. They were ordinary people, but inside the Titans, they were legends. "Daniel," Dr. Elena Vasquez's voice came over the comms, heavy with urgency. "The aliens are concentrating everything on the mountains. If they break through, the Titans will fall before they can fully awaken." Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked at the endless swarm of enemy ships above, glowing like a storm of fire. "Then we hold the line," he said, "no matter what it takes." High in orbit, Lord Xylan raged inside his throne. His claws tore into the metal armrests as he stared at the reports flashing across the screens. "Impossible," he growled. "A broken species, fighting like this? They should have surrendered. They should have begged for mercy." But instead, his fleets were falling. The Titans crushed ships with fists of light. Survivors fought on the ground with weapons scavenged from rubble. Even unarmed, humans charged with nothing but stones in their hands and fire in their hearts. The Empire had seen rebellions before, but never this. Never a people who refused to quit. Xylan's voice thundered across the bridge. "If they want annihilation, then I will give them annihilation. Prepare the planet killer." Gasps filled the chamber. The planet killer was not just a weapon. It was extinction. A single blast could tear Earth apart. On the ground, Elena's team intercepted the signal. Her face went pale. "They are bringing the planet killer." The room fell silent. Everyone understood. One shot, and Earth would no longer exist. Elena, one of her engineers, whispered, "It's over. We can't stop something that big." But Elena's eyes burned with the same fire she saw in Daniel. "No, it's not over. Not while we breathe. Humanity does not quit." She turned to the console, sending the message across every comm, every radio still alive. Her voice carried across the ruins of Earth. "This is our last chance. If we fall together. If we fight for every child, every life, every future. Do not quit. Do not surrender. Show them what it means to be human." The message reached Daniel in the middle of battle. Enemy fire rained down, his Titan shaking with each strike. His arms bled, his vision blurred, but Elena's words cut through the pain. He opened the comm to every survivor. You heard her. This is it. They think we will bow. They think we will break. Let's prove them wrong. For Earth. For Earth. Voices roared back, thousands of them, across mountains, rivers, and burning cities. And with that cry, humanity surged forward. The Titans charged into the sky, their glowing bodies clashing with alien warships in storms of fire and light. Daniel's Titan leapt into the air, slamming its fist through a battleship, tearing it apart. All around, ships exploded, flames lighting the heavens. But the planet killer loomed above, a colossal weapon forming in the dark. Its core glowed like a sun ready to burn Earth to ash. Xylan watched, his lips curling into a smile. Yes, let them struggle. Let them hope. It will make their end more beautiful. On the ground, Elena's console screamed with warnings. The planet killer was charging. Minutes remained before the blast. One of her team cried out, "We can't reach it. It's too high." Elena's eyes narrowed. "No, we don't need to reach it. The Titans can." She sent the coordinates directly to Daniel. His screen lit with the location of the weapon. He saw it, massive and terrifying, glowing in orbit like a second sun. His chest tightened. He knew what it meant. If the planet killer fired, Earth would die. If they wanted to stop it, someone would not come back. Daniel's voice was calm as he spoke over the comms. "Listen to me. We can't all make it through this. But that doesn't matter. Humanity is not about living forever. It's about never quitting. If one of us falls, another rises. That's who we are." He looked at the planet killer, its glow filling the horizon. His Titan's core pulsed brighter, as if sharing his resolve. "Then let's show them our reckoning." The Titans roared as one, their lights blazing, and together they surged toward the sky, toward the weapon that threatened to end everything. The Titans rose into the sky like burning stars, their giant bodies glowing with raw power. Behind them, Earth trembled under the shadow of the alien planet killer, its core shining like a full sun. If it fired, everything would end. Oceans, forests, cities, memories. But humanity did not slow. They charged toward the impossible, their voices echoing through broken comms. For Earth. Captain Daniel Reed led the front. His Titan's chest glowed brighter with each second, its power building far beyond safe limits. He could feel his body weakening, his strength fading. But he kept his hand steady on the controls. "Elena," he whispered into the comm, his voice calm though his heart thundered. "If I don't make it, tell them why we fought. Tell them humans don't quit." Static crackled. Then Elena's voice came back, firm, unshaken. "No, Daniel, you will make it, because quitting has never been in our blood." Daniel smiled faintly, the fire in his chest matching his. High in orbit, Lord Xylan watched the Titans ascend. He leaned forward in his throne, his eyes glowing with rage. "They're insane," he hissed. "No species can fight against a planet killer." But his second-in-command whispered, fear creeping into his voice. "My lord, they don't care about survival. They care about defiance." Xylan slammed a clawed hand against the console. "Then let them defy. When the blast comes, there will be no Earth left to stand on." The countdown began. The Titans reached the edge of the atmosphere. Ships swarmed to block their path, but humanity cut through them like fire through dry grass. Every Titan that fell lit the sky with a burst of light, but their sacrifice cleared the way for the rest. Daniel's come filled with voices, some crying, some shouting, all unbroken. "Even if I fall, fight on. For my children, don't stop. Show them who we are." Each voice was another heartbeat, another spark feeding the storm. The planet killer glowed brighter, its weapon core nearly ready. Daniel could feel the heat of it even through the Titan's shield. His system screamed warnings. Red lights flashed across his screen. Overload detected. Core unstable. But Daniel didn't flinch. He knew what he had to do. "Elena," he said softly, "guide the others. I'll finish this." "No," Elena shouted from the ground, her voice breaking. "You'll die." He closed his eyes, remembering the faces of every fallen friend, every survivor who had whispered, "Don't quit." "Then I'll die human," Daniel answered. "And that is enough." His Titan blazed with unbearable light. The energy within it grew wilder, brighter, until even the enemy ships pulled back in fear. And then, with a roar that shook the heavens, Daniel's Titan hurled itself straight into the core of the planet killer. The explosion was like the birth of a new star. A wave of fire and light tore across the void, ripping the planet killer apart in a storm of broken steel and shattered energy. Ships disintegrated in its wake. The sky burned so bright that survivors on Earth fell to their knees, shielding their eyes as day turned into blinding white. For one long moment, silence followed. Then came the thunder. The blast echoed through the heavens, a sound that would carry across the galaxy. On Earth, Elena opened her eyes. The sky was clearing. The massive shadow of the planet killer was gone. Pieces of it fell harmlessly into the atmosphere, glowing like falling stars. Her team stayed in stunned silence. "He did it," one whispered. Elena's throat tightened. Tears blurred her vision, but she stood tall. "They did it," she said. "All of them. Humanity did it." Her words spread through the comms, through every survivor, through every Titan still standing. And soon, voices rose in answer. Not mourning, not despair, but pride. Far across the galaxy, news traveled faster than light. The Empire had unleashed its greatest weapon, and it had been destroyed. The humans were not gone. They were alive. Whispers spread from world to world. The humans stood against extinction. They destroyed a planet killer. They never quit. Fear began to take root in hearts that had once mocked Earth. If a broken planet could do this, what would humanity become tomorrow? Lord Xylan survived the blast, his flagship crippled and burning. He stood at the window, staring at the distant blue planet. His claws trembled, his eyes wide with disbelief. "They were supposed to break," he whispered. "No one survived the planet killer." His voice shook with something he had never felt before. Not rage, not hate, but fear. On Earth, survivors gathered among ruins, their eyes lifted to the stars. The Titans stood like silent guardians, their glowing bodies flickering with the last of their power. Elena placed her hand on the cold earth, her heart steady despite the pain. She knew Daniel was gone, but his spirit lived in every survivor, in every breath, in every heartbeat. And she whispered the truth, the lesson carved in fire and blood. Humans don't know how to quit. The galaxy would remember this day forever, not because of destruction, not because of weapons, but because of instinct, humanity's immortal instinct. To fight, to endure, to survive, to never quit.